This is Module 2 on prototyping.
Okay. I'm just going to loosen the shot a little
Sure.
bit and anytime.
In addition to sketching on paper, you can also make clickable prototypes that you can use on a mobile phone in tools like Pixate or InVision. And if you build out enough of the interface, often participants in a usability study might not even realize they're just clicking on a series of images. They might think the actual application has been built and is there in front of them to use. We still suggest that you start with paper, as research has shown that people are much more critical of an overall application concept when they're evaluating it on paper. They feel that you must not have spent very much time working through the design because it's just sketched on pieces of paper. So they're much more likely to criticize the overall idea of the application or the overall flow. Whereas if people are interacting with mocked up screens that look much more like the actual application will look, they'll be much more particular about the individual design details, the colors, how the screen looks, instead of the actual functionality of the application. But as you continue to develop your idea further, as you go into further iterations beyond just the paper, doing something in a clickable mock can get you the feedback on those design details that are really important for your final application. If people think your application is ugly because of the color schemes or the icons that you've chosen, that's all really important feedback to get before you actually commit to the final implementation and the final screen designs. So there's definitely a role for these Pixate or InVision clickable prototypes in the development cycle as you go forward. So to use these tools, you can create each of your screens in a tool like Sketch or Illustrator. And there are toolkits available that will give you all of the specific buttons, all of the specific Android or iPhone controls that you can put into your Sketch files. And then you can import the individual screens from your Sketch file into a tool like Pixate or InVision. And these tools then let you create hotspots, areas where if a user clicks or swipes in that particular area, some action will happen. And then you can define which screen gets shown when they've clicked or when they've swiped in a particular part of the screen, and what the transition should look like. You can have it cut directly to the new screen, you can have it swipe or dissolve, or any kind of interaction that you might have in the actual application. And that really helps make these prototypes feel much more like a working application. Things can scroll over from the side, much like they do in the working application. And the users in your usability studies with these will feel like they're actually working with a working system. Then once you've created all of these rules, all of these little zones to click at or swipe in, and the transitions, you can get a link that you can open on your mobile phone. And when you go to that link, the users will get the full workable prototype. And loading on the device will give you a feel of how your application will actually work, how the transitions will feel, how the interaction will feel, what requires too many taps, or what requires your thumb to be moving all over the screen in different ways. So often this can really help you see a lot of things that you might not be able to get when just working with paper in terms of the overall interaction with your application and trying to go through actual use cases and flows in a fully populated user interface. So we use clickable prototypes like this in our studies every week at Yahoo and at other tech companies all over the world. And this really helps us focus the design and focus both the interaction and the visual elements that are on the screen before we commit to programming, before we commit to all of the engineering resources necessary to build something. So we're really happy with what we get in the end. Over the past few months, I've been working through various onboarding flows for a new application we've created. And we've tried countless ways of doing this in the lab. And so we've just used small amounts of designers' time to try different flows, to try different interactions. And through continual testing of clickable prototypes, we've really gotten to something that we feel works really well, where all of our users now understand exactly the point of the application, exactly why they'd want to use it, exactly why they'd want to sign in. And that you can get through these iterative usability studies using clickable prototypes on actual devices.